I don't have to do more.
All right. Good morning. So Parsha this week is Vayishlach, and some really unpleasant stuff happens in this Parsha. But what I want to focus on is what Rachel names her son. So we hear that they were in the town of Shechem, and Dinah goes out to visit with the other women of the town, and the prince of the town takes her and violates her. So we have that violence. Okay. Then the brothers commit their own act of violence. They kind of do this whole ruse and say, oh, yeah, we'll join with you and integrate and marry each other's people. And if you circumcise, and then when the men are all recuperating from circumcision, they go and murder everyone. So, like, a lot of violence in this parsha. And then we have Jacob, who says nothing, like doesn't immediately respond. He's kind of like the bystander and waits for someone else to take the lead. And then after the fact, he complains like, oh, look what you did with so much violence, but he doesn't engage. And right after this whole situation, we have that Jacob moves on with his family, and Rachel goes into labor while they're en route on traveling, and she has a hard birth and she's dying. And as she's dying, she names the son Ben-Oni, which is usually translated as the son of my suffering or mourning, because the commentary by Ibn Ezra and by Ramban Nachmanides is she was already mourning and grieving that she was going to leave her child in this world and she was going to die because she knew she was dying. But the word own, oni, which is it's an aleph, vav nun, and onen is a mourner. And so, okay, so that's with an extra nun though. The word own, she just says Ben-Oni. She doesn't say Ben-Onini, right? She says Ben-Oni. And the word own, just with a single nun, actually means strength. It means strength. So I was very confused, like why the rabbis always translate this as like she's the son of the suffering, and then Jacob comes along and changes the name and says Benjamin, the son of my right hand, which we know is God's side of grace or mercy or loving kindness. So kind of like that, almost like Rachel's giving the son a curse and Jacob turns it around. But actually, she names the boy the son of my strength. Like her last strength in this world was to bring this child to life. But there's some other commentary that I want to add about that, which is in the Tanya, which is the Hasidic mystical text from Shneur Zalman of Liadi, and it's one of the most important texts for the Hasidic movement. They talk about this concept of a Benoni, and what they talk about is a Benoni is a person who is neither completely evil nor completely righteous, but somewhere in an intermediate state. They're an in-betweener. And Rabbi Rami Shapiro comments, he wrote a book about the Tanya, he comments that everyone can attain the level of an in-betweener, a Benoni, and everyone can strive after it. You achieve the level of an in-betweener at any moment, for it does not require you to despise your passions, only to control your actions, to turn from evil and do good in your deeds, speech, and thought. So I thought it was interesting as another way of looking at this parsha is maybe after Rachel experiencing all the male violence around her and the male inaction and refusal to get involved and do something of justice when there's violence happening, she gives her son this name about being strong and about being able to maybe be so self-possessed and self-controlling that he monitors his behavior and his actions, his thoughts, his deeds, that he can be someone who turns away from evil to do good. So that's my theme for the practice today. How do we choose? How do we choose to be a Benoni? Not about suffering, it's about self-control, to choose right, to turn away from our own evil impulses. All right, we'll see how that works out in the practice. I don't know. Come, let's relax, let's enjoy our physical bodies and move a little bit. So why don't we start? Let's just start opening through the hips. So just, ah, I don't know about you. I'm a little tight and sore today. The cold weather, you guys noticing that the cold weather, you kind of are a little more stiff than usual. Yeah, good. And then just crisscross, like bringing, one leg in front of the other. And let's just walk the fingertips forward, forward, forward. And come to a place where you can just fold over and rest your head. If you're not anywhere near the floor, that's okay. You can take a block in front of you and rest your head to a block. Just take a moment to breathe and to come into presence. And whichever leg is in front for you, you're going to walk your hands towards the opposite hip. So you're reaching, oh yeah, you should feel a really good stretch down the whole side waist from that hip through the ribs, all the way towards the shoulder. Think about trying to get that shoulder to drop more towards the ground instead of it hiking up. Yeah, and your chin can just tuck to your chest, lengthen the back of your neck. Good. Come back through the center and just shift and bring the other leg out in front. And we'll do the same thing. So you'll just fold forward first. And again, making a little pillow for your head if you need, or using a block. It seems like an obvious thing, Benoni. Like it seems like, oh, I'm not a bad person, but I'm not a completely purely righteous person all the time. I am somewhere in between, right? This concept of like, okay, we're somewhere on a spectrum and we're always choosing which way we're turning. Good. Now you're going to walk your hands over to the other side, away from that back hip. And the more you can kind of like roll that armpit down towards the ground, the more you'll get a really good stretch into the back of the clavicle, not clavicle, back of the shoulder blade there. All right. And come sit up. We'll do something I don't think I've done in like forever. Honestly, I don't even remember the last time I did this. Let's take a seated, like almost like a split, like a straddle. Yeah. And why don't you keep a block nearby just to have one? But let's just, I'm playing with this idea of, oh, you guys are so cute. You guys could do partner yoga there with feet touching. I do that with kids sometimes. Yes, you could grab each other's wrists and you could, it's so cute. Okay, for those of us who don't have a partner in the room with us, first you're just gonna kind of sit up tall and close your eyes. And I want you to feel like you're in the center of yourself, like whatever that means to you, the belly, the heart, the torso. You could find the spine and literally kind of inhabit your own spine here. What does it feel like to be centered? See if you can feel your sit bones here. And then we're going to play with being one way or the other off center for a moment. So you're just going to let yourself, you can slide your right hand towards your right foot And just take the side stretch over towards the right. Yeah. Notice that your left sit bone wants to come up off the ground. See if you can keep grounding that left sit bone. Good. And then let's slide our way back up, and you're gonna come over towards left. And you might notice one side is more tight or tender than the other side. And again, you're gonna ground that right sit bone now, not let it come up. If you want to use your hands to kind of give a little extra weight to that hip, that'll also create more grounding and more length out of the sideways. Good. And come on back up. Let's fold forward. This is where you might want the block because depending on your flexibility here, you may not get too far. So whatever's appropriate for you, but you can use the block to rest your hands or rest your elbows might be nice, right? If you bring the block in front of you and you can just come to a place where you're feeling definitely a stretch through the inner thighs. See if you can flex the feet so your heels reach away from you, but your toes pull back towards you. Good. And come on back up. You can take your hands to help you bend the knees and bring them back together to the center. Reach them out in front of you for a moment. And again, flex the feet, sit up tall. That's a little bit of core right there. Yeah. And we're going to play again. Just lean over, 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 over. How far can you lean to one side without letting your hip come up off the ground? Yeah. So, and then once you're there, just take a little side bend here. It's weird, right? It's like compressing one side, opening the other side. Like, what does it feel like to notice the edges between which we play, right? Like, we're always somewhere in between one side or the other, but we don't always kind of like bring that awareness. So it's interesting to find where your edge is. The edge, that hip pressing down, the whole edge of the sideways. Good. And come on up. And let's do the same to the other side. So reach, reach, reach. There's that wanting to lean too far to one side, but you're going to ground and then reach. Good. Pull your belly in here. Good. And come on back up. And one more time, we're going to take a fold forward here. And wherever you go to, just drop your chin to your chest. Relax the head, the shoulders, and your breath. And you'll come sit up. Just bend your knees for a moment just so that we can set a little bit of a kavanah, an intention. So you're going to close your eyes. And I just want you to dwell for a moment in this question for yourself. What is some area of my life where I want to really source a little bit more strength? Like the strength of my own choice and will to direct my will in the direction that I'm choosing. Turning away from, not evil, but maybe turning away from some kind of negative thinking pattern, turning away from some kind of behavior that doesn't serve you, some kind of compulsion that you feel you don't have a lot of power or control around, like it's your lesser instinct that pulls you in that direction. Right? Like a jealousy or an anger or a pettiness or something. And how could you maybe just like take time to dedicate this practice? Like, what would it feel like and look like for me to have the strength to turn myself towards the direction of the good I'm seeking to bring in? if it's helpful for you to visualize, maybe even see yourself standing, sitting, wherever environment you find yourself in, maybe the actual situation that challenges you, and see yourself physically turning away from something and towards something else. All right. You're going to come onto your hands and knees. And you could take a few cat and cow stretches through the spine. It's actually interesting now that I'm thinking about this theme. I'm realizing, like, in most poses, like with the inhale, the exhale, they're kind of opposite extremes of the breath, right? A cat and cow are the opposite directions of spinal flexion. And it's so we don't live in the opposite. We never live in the extreme one or the other. We're always somewhere in between in that motion, somewhere on the journey. All right, we're going to tuck our toes and lift the knees and come into your down dog. Make sure your fingers are spread and the fingertips are grasping into the ground. Good. Put a deep bend in the knees here to start and continue to push the floor forward and away from you. So the more you press down into the heels of your hands and push the floor forward, you're actually going to draw your hips back, lengthen the torso. So everything else is pulling away from the hands. Relax the head. Good. And then slightly bend those elbows and pull the shoulders down away from the ears. And then keeping the arms as they are and the shoulders down. Then begin to straighten through the legs. Slow, slow, slow. A millimeter at a time. And you'll really feel that stretch in the calf muscles. You might feel that natural lift of the belly pulling in and up. And let's just get steady here for a moment. All right, you're going to take your right leg straight back behind you and flex the foot. And we'll bend that knee and bring that knee in towards our chin or towards the back of the right elbow. Yeah. And reach it back to down dog. Lift the left leg straight behind you. It's not going high up to the sky. You're not opening up the whole leg. You're just keeping the hips level. The foot reaches straight back. Good. And then again, you'll draw your shoulders over the wrists, the knee up towards your chin. You're in a hovering plank pose. Good. And bring it back to a down dog. We're going to revisit this in many variations. But for now, we're going to walk your feet all the way up towards your hands and let yourself hang. Take a little nice ragdoll here to just loosen up the spine, loosen up the shoulders. Good. Bend the knees and roll yourself up. Okay. All right, let's just see where the movement takes us. We'll start with some sun salutations. So you can start with the feet hip distance apart, hands to your heart. Good. On an inhale, you can bring the arms up overhead. On an exhale, you'll fold down over the legs. Inhale halfway up. So you're flattening out that back, squeeze the shoulder blades towards each other. And then your fingertips can come to the floor and you'll step your right leg back behind you and slowly peel your way up for a lunge. The left knee is bent. Good. And you can take those arms up like a letter V, victory. Nice. Good. Let's just get a little bit of strength here. So you're going to straighten through both legs, and then you're going to bend through both knees. Straighten through both legs. You can also take your hands to your hips for this. Bend through both knees. That back knee, you're also bending towards the ground. Yeah. If this is not great for your knees, modify as you need. But this actually can strengthen the knees, right? This is really strengthening all the muscles around the knees so that you're getting more control. Good. Bend. Keep the front knee bent. Straighten through the back leg. Let's come into one nice full expression of that lunge and lean yourself back. Stretch open that hip. Good. Okay, from here, you're going to drop your right hand forward. Drop your left hand behind you. It's a very weird feeling twist because you're not holding on to anything. But imagine someone is pulling your right wrist back behind you so that you can, the tendency here is to lean forward, but you're trying to actually, instead of leaning forward here, see if you can keep your torso upright and you're trying to open up the shoulders and keep that front knee bent. Yeah, this is hard. Pulling yourself apart in two directions, reaching. Now reach a little bit more back behind you, like someone's playing tug of war with that back hand, reaching back, back, back. Feel that nice big stretch in the shoulder. Good. Now you're going to drop the right fingertips to the floor. Take that left arm up to the sky and you're in a twist. You may need a block under that right hand. Yeah, to bring the floor up to your level, wherever you need to be. Good. And then let's lean back here a little. So just lean that arm back behind you a little bit. Again, a little bit of a twist here in the sideways. Feel the opening up there. Good. And then float that hand to the ground. Move the block out of the way if you have one. You're going to come into a down dog. From your down dog, you are going to lift your right leg up behind you. Good. You're going to come forward into a hovering plank. The knee comes towards the hand. Reach that leg back behind you. Take that knee now up to your outer right tricep. Sorry. Reach it behind you. Bring it forward. Swing the knee across to the opposite elbow. Bring that leg behind you. Lower it down to the plank. Come forward into a full plank. Good. Spread your fingers. Hug your elbows in, nice and strong. You can shake here. That's okay if you're shaking. If you're shaking, it means your muscles are waking up, coming alive. Good. Then you can lower the knees to the ground. Before coming all the way to the belly, if you want to take a few tricep push-ups here, just lowering and pressing back up in a little push-up. Good. And then from here, you can come all the way to the belly and just rest for a moment. You can close your eyes and bring your senses inward and notice your heart rate, any other colors, sensations that are happening within you. Okay, with all 10 toenails pressed down onto the ground and the hands underneath the shoulders, you're just gonna gently push down into the floor, lift the torso up, but the pelvic bone is down, hug the elbows into the side waist. We're in a very strong low cobra pose. You want to feel the belly pulling in and up. Yeah, so you can feel like a stretch in the abdomen. Those shoulder blades are working overtime, trying to pull towards each other, strengthen the back muscles. Good. And then lower all the way back down. And again, just rest. So yoga itself, the actual word that yoga comes from is yuj, Y-U-J, which means to bind or to cleave to or to join to. And it's the same concept as the Hasidic concept of dvikut. It's like, what are we choosing in any moment to bind our attention and awareness to? Are we bringing our attention to our highest good and potential, to our cleaving for God or for some type of like, like an elevated like character of ourselves? So that's what the yoga practice ultimately can be for. Okay, here we go. You're going to tuck your toes. You have choices here. You can come through hands and knees, or you can try to do like a deadlift push-up. If you tuck your toes and flex those heels, hands under you, and with a lot of strength, you can push yourself up away from the floor. Bring yourself back into a downward dog. Take your head out here. Let's just take a little twist in the down dog before we move to the other side. So you're going to take your right hand and reach it back and across towards your left calf, the left outer, like the outer shin. And then you're just going to draw yourself around towards that left side. You might want to bend that right elbow, press down really strongly into the left hand. The heels still reach back like a down dog. You're taking a nice twist here. Good, and then we'll switch. Bring that right hand back and take your left hand across. And come back to the center. You're going to bend your knees. You can either walk or jump your feet up towards your hands. And then slowly come all the way up to stand. And we'll do that whole series on the second side. How are you doing? Is this feeling good? Giving your body some of what it needs? Yeah, we're doing a little twisting and sideways stuff, like really kind of opening our outer edges. Yeah. Cool. All right, bring your hands back to your heart. You can smile. Take the arms up overhead on an inhale. As you exhale, fold over. Inhale halfway up. As you exhale, fingertips to the ground. This time your left foot steps all the way back and you're coming up for the lunge and finding your balance and your stability here. Yeah. So the back toes are pointing towards the front toes. Both hips are facing forward. Re-spread your front toes if you need. Make sure you're giving them space. Good. And then you can bring the arms up or by your waist, and we're going to bend and straighten. And you may notice that this quad muscles, the head of muscles, is tighter than on the other side. So really, whatever your body is showing you, we're just noticing. And that's because we're right-handed or we're left-handed. We lean to one side. We carry everything on the same hip. Your bag, your pocketbook, the way you sit, we tend to be out of balance and favor one direction or another. So it's really good to kind of notice, where are we in the body? And can we come back into some centered place or in a different direction? Okay, here we go. Take your big open lunge here, lean back a little, get that nice stretch into the front of the hip before we go into that weird twist. Okay, now left arm drops forward, right arm drops behind you. And you can feel that it's like, maybe the chest doesn't want to open that way. The shoulder doesn't want to move that way. And notice it's very natural to lean forward with this front hip and to want to kind of curve around with it. But we're going to imagine someone pulling on that back hand. Reach that arm back more, more, more. Don't lose the bend in the front knee though. And try to pull your belly in really strong and tight here. Can you feel like your belly's pulling all the way to the back of the spine? And then visualize inside your actual, like the whole abdominal wall kind of twisting around itself a little bit, right? So that those right rib cage and abs are pulling back and the left side is wrapping forward and around. All right, from here, we're gonna dip it right into that twist. So the left hand can come to the floor. You might need to widen your stance by shifting the back toes back a little bit. Finding the twist here. Woo! This takes a lot of strength. Good. Lean that top upper arm back a little bit. So now you're just kind of gazing up with the chest towards the sky. This is very deep in those hips. Good. You're going to bring the hands to the floor. You're going to step back to plank. And here we go. A little bit of that core cultivation from our plank. Down dog. So bringing it to a down dog first. Yep. Okay. So that left, which leg leaves behind you? I like to switch directions. So now I don't even know. Okay. Yeah. Your left leg behind you. Perfect. Good. So to the nose first in the center, and then to the back of the tricep on the same side, and then to the back of the tricep on the opposite side. And then you're going to come forward to your plank again. Hold your plank. If you want to take some push-ups here with the knees up off the floor or the knees down on the floor, you can do that. Just cultivating some strength. Right? If it's easier to do the easy habitual thing, how do we get out of our habit and bring some determination to push beyond what is comfortable? All right, from here you can sit back in a child's pose. Rest your head. All right. Let's do a little bit of a hero pose. It's really a quad stretch. So depending on what you need for your knees, here's what I'm going to suggest. If you have blocks nearby, you can do that. Basically, I just want us to get a really good stretch in the quads. So one option, if you are having any issues with your knees, and like one option would just be to create like a little tower of blocks and sit your hips up on the blocks. And what we're doing, we're just trying to get a little bit of length out of these hip flexors and the quads. So if you do that, and then you just kind of lean back from there, that's a very nice supported, modified hero pose. Okay? If your knees are healthy, and it's not so much of an issue for you to go a little deeper, you would start by sitting basically on both heels, but underneath you, and you would lean back from there. And maybe from there, you can even bring like the forearms to the ground. And it's just a very deep opener there. If you're in the version where you're kind of on the floor, you may need to adjust to lengthen your tailbone forward. You don't want any arching in the low back. It's not this, right? The tailbone is tucked and reaching forward. And that's going to set everything in the right place to really just open through the quads. Wherever you are, if your neck is healthy, you can open the throat, you can open the mouth, you can say, ah. Get a little throat chakra. Otherwise, just keep your chin tucked, which is a different form of throat chakra, more of a bounce, Jalandhara Bandha. Good. All right, from here, wherever you are, gently walk yourself back up. Yeah, we don't usually do that. That feel good though. Like a pretty deep quad stretch. Okay, from here, let's just come into a little bit, since we're kind of in that position, let's come into a little toe squat. Yeah. So yeah, this may be very challenging if your feet are kind of like tight and closed, right? This is a big stretch in the back of the feet. This is great for preventing plantar fasciitis, or if you have it, this is like the stretch for the back of the heels. Yeah. Okay, from here, we're just gonna play, don't get scared. We're just gonna play with a little bit of balance first. So if you have blocks nearby, that'll help you. So we want to keep our spine upright, first of all. So if you have a block nearby, that can help you. Okay. And then we're going to take that same twist we took with the open arms. So bring your right arm forward and your left arm behind you, and you're twisting, twisting, twisting. Notice again, the tendency is to kind of bring yourself over, but check your knees and see if your knees are still level with each other. So you're trying to keep the knees level and you're twisting from the spine. Now, you can take a break. Take a break. Come out of that for a second. Let's take a down dog to shake it out. So from your down dog, you can just kind of shift your hips side to side. If you want, you can do a little bit more core, kind of coming forward from plank and down dog, or anything you want. You could do some mountain climbers here with knees coming in. Just to take a break. A little bit of strength. Good. Okay, then you can come just sit on your tush for a second while I show you what we're going to do. We're trying to go into a side crow prep. Okay, so basically where I just had you, here you are, you're in your squat, you're kind of taking your twist, right? One way you go into side crow prep, I don't know that you're going to need the block. You just bring the hands to the floor and you're trying to bring the whole hand to the floor the way you would in a chaturanga or a down dog, and you're trying to bring the hands to the floor. The front elbow comes to that knee, and that's it. You could just stay there. You could just stay there. That would be a deep twist and a prep. You can also do it with the blocks, which just brings you up higher. Again, it creates, like, if your arms don't want to go there, it brings the floor up. So you're just in this nice twist here. And you'll feel this in the side waist. You'll feel this in core. There's still balance. There's a lot going on here. You can stay here. Another thing you may want to do is you then lift up a little higher and you're just going to lean to the side. I'm actually going to show you from this way because I do what's kind of a little bit of a cheat, but very helpful. So I'm lifting up, I'm leaning into my arm, into my twist, and now I'm going to actually set my back hip on my back elbow also. So I've got 2 points of contact supporting me. If I've got that, maybe this is all about balance, finding the in-between. What's too far to one way? What's too far to the other way that I'd be on my head? And what's sort of this in-between state where I just gently can kind of find that right fulcrum and I lift off into a balance. So just play with wherever you are. Just play. If you don't want to do any of that, you can also sit and take a seated twist. That's another variation. Another variation would be just take a seated twist. So we're working those muscles, all the oblique muscles. This feeling of, like, what is it to find yourself in space and to intentionally try to bring yourself into a state of balance where you're not going too far to one direction or the other. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So that knee comes to the back of the elbow hugs into the knee, and you're just finding that point of contact, and there's strength there. The belly strengthens on that point of contact. You're giving yourself a boundary and a limit. Ah, yay! A graceful dismount. Okay. So did we do both? We only did one side, right? We did one side? Yeah, let's do the other side. So if you want to come to the other side, let's just try that now. Same thing. You're just going to find the twist, right? You're finding that twist, maybe the twist with the blocks. Maybe you come in deeper, so you're trying to hug that tricep into the back of the knee. You find that contact. And then if you want to find that little bit of a pivot balance point, you lift up and you're just like, what would it feel like to lift one foot up off the floor? Maybe that's all I'm going to do here, right? Just lift the top foot off, right? Maybe I squeeze that bottom foot farther away from me. And now that's more of a little lever there. Maybe I lift it up. Yeah, just to play. All right, good job, guys. Thanks for going there with me. That was really good. All right, let's just take a relaxation from here. So first of all, let's stretch our hands. So you can kind of make like a little like ducky hand and then circle. Should feel really nice in the wrists, right? Because if you put any pressure on the wrist, circle the other direction. Good. You can clasp the fingers through each other, interlace, and reach the hands away from you. Pull the shoulders down from the ears. Just again, stretching the hands, the wrists. Good, good, good. All right. Okay, let's take, we didn't do a single warrior today. Do we feel like we need to? Do we want to do one warrior series standing? Let's do that before we bring everything back down to the mat. Come, stand up. So let's just come into, we could start it from a balance. So you can stand on your left leg and just lift your right leg. We can try that weird balance here again. Same thing we've been doing. Take that right arm behind you, left arm forward, belly in, torso straight up. Woo! Find yourself in between these two places. And then from there, let's do this weird sort of almost like warrior three, but with that hand behind you. And you're just gonna then step that back foot down into the warrior. Woo! That totally put me off balance. That was weird. All right, here you go. You're in your warrior. Let's reach the warrior back. Open up the front sideways. If your throat feels good, especially after that hero pose, maybe leaning again, opening up the throat here. Good. And then come into your version of extended side angle. You can take the forearm to the thigh. You can go deeper with a block behind the front foot. Yeah. So there's a leaning back and a rotation through the belly here again. That like, well, I'm not quite leaning all the way to one side. I'm lifting that side even as, right? And then that top arm can come in line with the back leg and you're just extending out. Good. Keep a bend in that front knee and try not to let the knee pitch inward. The knee is opening outward. Good. Good. Step your back foot in a tiny bit closer and then straighten the front leg and move directly into a triangle pose here. Yeah. And if you want to challenge yourself with a little bit of extra strength, first take a look down at your foot. Make sure your front foot is really strong. There's an arch lifted, okay? That's going to be a strength point for you. Feel your belly pull into the back of your spine. And what you're going to do is you're going to lift the bottom arm up and forward. Yeah? Uh-huh. There you go. So you really have to use core control here. Feel your belly like corset, you know, this nice strong wrap of your abdominals. Good. Then lift yourself all the way up and over for a reverse triangle with that front leg is straight. Okay, and then on an act of faith, we're going straight into a half moon pose. Don't think about it, just do it. Bend your front knee. You can find that block and step the block forward and lift your back foot up to the sky. Standing front leg is straight and just find some variation of balance here. Draw energy up the inner line of that front leg. So lift the kneecap. Ah! There you go. And then you're going to come and step yourself back up out of that. Shake it off. Yeah. All right, and let's do the second side. So we'll start by standing firm on the right leg, lift the left leg up. Yeah, just find your balance. And then open the arms into that open twist. Yeah, you got it. So you're finding that open twist, trying not to lean forward, really like opening across the chest. And then this weird, like a weird variation of a warrior three. Uh-huh. And then step the foot back and you're in your warrior two. There you go. All right, here we go. Reverse it. And then bring it forward into whichever variation you're taking. I didn't offer the bind as a variation, but if you want to take a bind, feel free. Again, belly is drawing in and that bottom rib cage is wrapping around towards its opposite. It's like the two edges want to meet. They don't want to be diverging. They want to be integrating. Yeah. And you could take that arm forward and lengthen it over the head if you want. Mm-hmm. Good. We step the back foot in a tiny bit closer so that you can then straighten through the front leg. You might need to adjust where your block is, and you're going to find your version of triangle pose here. Again, the arm can come long overhead if you want. I don't think we did this on the other side, but that's okay. I would bring that arm back up though before you lift the bottom arm forward. If you bring that arm overhead, that's way harder. You can play with that. Again, we didn't do that on the other side. That makes it much more challenging, but you can keep one arm straight up, the other arm forward. That's enough to feel that need for the belly muscles to all pull in and find some centered point. Good. And then reach it all the way back with that front straight leg. We're in a reverse triangle. And you know what's coming, that half moon. Have fun with it. Have fun. Make it joyful. And just find yourself in flight somewhere here. Right, what you're looking at can help steady you, your drishti, your gaze. Don't take it too seriously. Good. And then from here, come out as gracefully as you are able. Okay. All right, now we've earned our right to lie down on the mat, yes? Okay, come on down on the mat, guys. Let's revisit this. Come into the open, like a wide stance here for a moment. That straddle. And you're gonna slide your right arm along the inner right leg. Right? You could also bring a block to rest it on. Good. And then you're just gonna feel that twist, that lengthening over to the side. Right? A little bit, again, that twist in the belly. And then this arm can reach overhead. It may be able to touch the toes. It may not. You could take a strap if you want. The other option is just bring your palm of your hand behind your head and then just lean, like, press your head back into your hands. You're going to feel that. You're really going to feel that, yeah. Now, again, this opposite tush wants to rise up off the ground, but don't let it. Keep both of your sit bones grounded down. So you're giving yourself a boundary. You're not going all the way over to one side. You're pulling back. Good. And then you'll come up through the center. Just sit in the center of yourself for a moment and close your eyes and notice what feels different from one side to the other. You might notice that left side feels much more expansive, brighter. Good. And then we'll go to the other side. So the left arm could slide into the leg. Don't let the right hip come up. Re-ground that right hip. One way to do that is flex that right foot and really use the muscle to, keep that down. And then from here, you're going to stretch through the whole right side waist. And that arm can reach behind you and find a little bit of that twist as well here. And then just close your eyes and breathe. And come on up through the center. And you can Bring your legs together, and again, just sit for a moment and enjoy the sensations inside of yourself. And you can take anything else you need, any other poses you need, whatever is going to be supportive of your practice this morning. And ultimately, you'll make your way down to the ground, Shavasana. Take a moment to offer any prayers or blessings for yourself or anyone else. And maybe coming back to that intention, that area of your life where you would like to turn yourself around with more strength. And taking something from this practice to add to that strength for you. And then as you're ready, slowly make your way back. Shalom b'ramav, huya shalom, aleinu vel kol Yisrael, vel kol yoshvei tevel, Imru, Amen. May the maker of peace bring peace to all of us in our lives.